Yeah. The second artist today here on Liberty Forum, John Bryant, with wife and child. Wife, our freedom professor out of Dallas, Texas. He teaches on a regular basis, and he does it without charge. That's kind of led to a problem in the demand for his time, but he continues in spite of that, and communicates actually with others doing the same thing down there, notably Ken Evans, and I think it's terrific because you're getting several minds, well, obviously working on the same issue, and there's just a lot of communication going on. I think it's terrific. So, right, the question came up about, well, I raised the question about the issue that you found is paramount, and that is the jurisdiction of these administrative tribunals, say that are in actually in the law merchant, so that stem from the law merchant, and so the easiest way is to cut, to address that and not partake in their charade. They're just full of tricks, and it's easy to trip up and make an error.
Yeah,
but you said there are different situations. Obviously there are, but why don't you give us some examples?
Well, the UCC is just codified law merchant. That's all it is. But okay, say a man gets raided by the IRS, the FBI, they send about 3 or 4 different groups out there at one time, about 20 people, and kick people's door in, scream at them, and threaten them and all that. But usually what they're out there for is just to confiscate their books and stuff so they can build a case against them. And so the issue then becomes, John, one of jurisdiction, not of accepting or anything else what they've done. And the issue is to address the agents who came out. You get as many of their names. Normally they'll only give you 1 or 2. But if you can look outside and get license tag numbers because they drive their own cars. They don't come out there in police cars. And get those numbers and check them out and find all these people. And then the way you address them is that on certain dates you came out to my property without my permission. And you presented yourself as an agent. And then you define agent. Agent is someone who comes from a foreign country, who is in a country foreign to the venue and jurisdiction of that country and to the people that live there. And it comes on down, you being a third party, you've got to be a third party debt collector. And I gave no permission for you to come out on my property. And you just nail them. There's other questions and things you put in there. And you send it back to them. You say, you have done this. You don't address the court. There's no court involved. And so they wait for you to make that movement. Get you an attorney. Boy, if they do you that way, get you an attorney. And right away, you get an attorney, you're a dead duck. And so anyway, you question them on that fact, and what we get back is usually, well, the judge gave us the warrant to come out there as if the judge had authority. The judge is from the same place called Washington, D.C. as these agents are from. And they have no venue jurisdiction whatsoever in your state. And so you just write back and tell them, judge has no authority. He's the same as you. And it becomes a jurisdictional issue, and then in the document you simply put anything you obtained in your theft of my property out of my house cannot be used in any court of law against me. And you send it back to them. And the reason, John, is that they have no venue and jurisdiction, and you want to stop the thing right there. And it works. And because they don't have jurisdiction, they do not have the right to come out to your place. IRS agents have no authority to come out to your place and do anything.
The interesting right to see if the right words would stop those characters in the chat.
It's not going to stop them while they're out there, because they're coming as a bunch of marauding gangsters.
Well, and they have no idea of, they're just following orders, right? Following orders.
They're following orders, but yeah, they have an idea. They know what they're doing. See, all of those agents came in through the Brentwood Agreement. And so they're actually agents of England, of the Vatican, and all this other stuff. They're simply coming in here to help the Federal Reserve System collect the debt. And so they come out there and they teach people over the, on there. They teach them, television shows and everything else, the FBI and peace and war. And boy, the FBI's got to be a bunch of good guys. They're ferreting out. Boy, they caught this guy that drug his little kid across the border. They did this, they did that, And what they've done is usurped the authority of the state. And people have bought that. And they have no jurisdiction. Because they're not even part of this country. They're not part of any state they're in. There's never been a bill passed that passed the IRS, the FBI, the CIA into existence. Because it's totally against the Constitution to ever put a group in like that. And so through the Brentwood Agreement, they brought them in here and let them come in and pounce on people. And the sheriff knows better. All you have to do is notify him. I don't want them people coming in on my property. As foreign agents, you keep them out. And they will. He will not give us permission for them to come in. In this one time, that the chief of police, that one of the FBI agents came into his place and was trying to get information on this guy. And he said, fella, you're in the wrong place. This is my city. And you're harassing my people.
That's still way the exception, right?
Huh?
I mean, most of the sheriffs are part of the overlay.
Nobody ever tells I'm not a federal citizen. Nobody ever tells the sheriff, I'm not a federal employee. You see, because they assume you are if you don't say you're not. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with the 1040 and with the IRS. You're not supposed to fill out a 1040. Fill out a 1041. 1040 is for federal employees. Federal employees are mandated by their law to pay income tax. So the 16th Amendment doesn't do anything because it's all coming out of Washington, D.C. And I sat down and talked with one of those men you talked about with Mr. Thompson and the other men, one of them here. And I sat down and talked to him about 2 or 3 hours and explained all this to him. I said, why in the world would y'all go up to Washington, D.C. and go in there and expect them to meet with you and to say what they're doing is wrong? You're on their territory. They can do whatever they want to in Washington, D.C. and you're not going to tell them anything there. I said, how many times have you seen 1 million people gathered here in Washington, D.C. and not one thing is done?
Bob Schultz, I hope he's well-intended. He's a nice man. He's a hard-working guy. But why should you demand that your servant answer you? And if you don't, starve yourself nearly to death. I mean, that's you don't. I mean, if they were truly public servants, you don't ask them to.
What he's done too.
But they're not. Obviously, they're not.
Yeah. What he's done too is he's declared himself a 501c3 organization.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
I read his meeting.
Yeah.
I said, you can't do that. You do that.
That's what they do, not what they say.
Huh?
I say we need to observe what they do, not what they say.
Yeah.
So the 501c3 that says it all. I mean, it's obviously got a place.
Not what it's got, John, and it's a twofold thing. It can either be one of two things. It can either be something to pull companies in, and because they're using that, they could clobber them. Or it's just something he doesn't understand. He also said he was collecting $250 from each one of these corporations that would join up with him. And the $250 then they're wanting 10,000 companies to do this. They then that $2.5 million would go to pay attorneys to get them out of trouble. You see the tie-in with all of it?
Sure. Yeah.
501c3 and attorneys. They're dead. One attorney can use up $2.5 million.
Well,
and so, I don't know what they're up to.
Yeah.
I sat there in the meeting and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And so I went to the one here and talked to him for a long time, and I told him I said, he said, well, I wondered about that myself. And he couldn't understand why they were 501c3. I said, that's totally under the jurisdiction of the IRS. So anyway, that's
pretty basic stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And so, anyway, I'm not their keeper. They can do whatever they want to do. And I think the world is, the guys with the companies, because they're all, they put their neck out on the shopping line.
Well, they sure have. And it's not just their neck, it's a whole
bunch of people who work for them, too.
Yeah, and it's a huge investment in most cases that we're talking about. Yeah.
So, anyway, that's one thing. But once someone files on you, then you go to the other. You switch to the thing of accepting what they filed and return it to them for discharge and closure.
Once those filed charges. So wait a minute. Isn't that the case in all of these situations where you're facing a court?
Sure, but they're hope, John, and that's why they force attorneys on people. Or if you just totally refuse, they then call you a pro se, an attorney acting a person defending themselves, acting as an attorney.
Right.
And so what you've got is that they have to have an attorney to be in there. They cannot send you to prison. And so what happens is that when you get into that court, they have nothing to be a charge. A charge is just level. But it can't be a charge until you start disputing the facts. And now they're going to use what you say, not what they're charging you with. They use what you say off of interrogatories and all these other documents to convict you with. They don't use what they charge, they use what you say. They have to have first-hand information. And they get that from you, and that's really, that's an insidious plan, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Make them go in and spill their guts and then use it against them to beat the stuffing out of them. if your attorney was level, he would say, I wouldn't fill them things out on a bet. Or he'd say right in there, I can't make a legal determination. Why can't he do that? Because he is representing you, and he can make a legal determination because he's your representative. So he tells you this to make you think you're the one that is filling those out, but in reality, he's the one filling them out and attesting to them.
Using the negative averment, or essentially you're rejecting the presumption that you are...
It's the same thing I'm telling you. What I'm telling you now, though, is just narrowed down into a smaller statement. You're simply telling them, well, when you do the negative averment, you read that into the court, they can't act at all. You're saying, I'm a living soul. I'm not a corporation. I'm not a created fiction.
And this has to be done because there is a presumption that you are corporate in nature.
Incompetent. If you're a dead person and you're incompetent, speak for yourself. So you become, there's a short time in there called elocution that you're considered a competent living soul. And as soon as you are finished, you become incompetent again. And that's how they make you do in jail what you do. And the funny thing that's come out of one of these federal people of the RT, they sent in a document to the court. And he said, basically the document just says, this case was in commerce that you tried me on. And I want to see the value of the case. And what he got back was very strange. When he did that, he got an answer back from the warden, not from the people he wrote to. And the warden told him, he said, if they do not give you the value by a certain time, it's 60 days, then they have 90 days to re-indict you. In other words, your sentence is no good. And so where we've been missing the point on the prison things is that we have to ask the judge for the value of the case. Then you can send a bond to him.
Have to ask the value, huh?
For the value of the case. And so it's going to cause some problems.
Now, when is that done?
Huh?
When is that question brought up? The value of the case.
Well, I would ask him now, knowing that, I would ask him at the end of it. You made this judgment, what's the value of this case, Judge?
So if it gets that far.
Yeah, if it gets that far. But it's just the fact, John, that they teach us to be magpies, to just indict ourselves, to give them all the information they need. And we do it. The instant they come up and start, first time they come up and arrest you, all the way down to the jail. People are trying to convince that guy in the car that they never did anything, or that this is why they did it. Well, guess what? Everything you say can and will be held against you. Why would you say anything to those people? We have to learn to speak softly, because don't say anything came out in this federal case was that when he said as true, I'm accepting as true, it refused everything they had done. They could do nothing. And once he returned it to them for closure discharge, they had nothing to do but the judges said, well, I guess we need to reset this.
If you want to get into what's been going on again with bonds, you've been talking about that.
The bonds are, it's according to what people are doing with them. What we found out is that a lot of these things are stealing them and giving them to the Federal Reserve, who then take them and make cash with them. In other words, make cash out of them, thereby extending the debt of the country. But once you write these things and you tell them to reduce the debt of the United States, it's a different ballgame altogether, and you send them to the place in Washington, D.C., 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue. And now to Ben-Salem and to Dallas. And you want to read those addresses?
Sure. We've got it pretty handy here.
You got these too. And anyway, it's the Internal Revenue Service for the Federal Payment Program. P.O. Box 57, Ben-Salem, Pennsylvania. And Automated Lien Section, 1100 Commerce Street, 5035 DAL, all capital letters. Dallas, Texas, 75242. And that's where the issues are addressed. And the issue of the lien can be addressed by sending them a 1041, tell them you made a mistake, and now release that lien that they have on you. Because, John, we make the choice, because we're taught to fill a 1040 out. Nothing in their bill says we have to use a 1040.
And on that 1041, if I remember, let's see, I've got one here.
What's that?
There's, sure. Now, there is a penalties of surgery section here, but,
if you put in there, 28 USC, I forget what it is.
1746.
Yeah, without prejudice.
Yeah, section 1 or
section 1. And then you sign it as trustee or agent. Because you become the fiduciary in that action. The straw man is the one that has the trust number. So they create that trust out of the Social Security system. And when they create that, they have to have a trust number for it, so they give it the Social Security numbers, we're told. And at that point, then you should file a Form 1041. You do not tell them what you're doing. The check that I saw that they paid this man $10,000 and $15,000 back, he did everything that you could possibly do wrong. And yet they sent him the money. Why? They cannot tell him how to fill that out. When he fills it out, it's his document.
And there are different ways to fill this out.
No, there's really just one way, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing you do is put the total income that year goes in other income. You don't tell them what kind of income it is. None of their business. And then you put down there fiduciary fees. You earned $100,000, the fiduciary is going to get paid $100,000. Fiduciary don't pay taxes.
Okay, let's go.
Overpayment.
A lot of territory here, getting with Rice Mcleod here on Liberty Forum. John Bryant, the host, and with Mcleod, just accused a lien, either through tendering a bond, and you gave the addresses that have been discovered. By the way, how did these addresses surface? Did someone inquire to the IRS?
I'm not
directly,
real
I wonder.
sure. I'm not real sure, John.
Okay. Okay, and again, they're available on the archives. Basically, about 3/4 of the way through the program, bottom of the second hour. The other way is to go back, to go back and file a return for those that year.
Yeah, file a 1041 return.
Right.
And put you a letter with it, and just tell them I made a mistake. I filed the wrong return, or I should have filed this return.
Or didn't file anything?
You say I should have filed. You don't say if you hadn't filed at all. You just say I should have filed this form, and it is now filed with you, and you owe me this amount of money. Please return it to me. And this should negate
any lien because there's no tax due, right?
Right. And so that's what we're doing. I had a man that said this is 10% of what I got back, and so I think that's the 6,000. Because they only file for a year or 2 years sometimes, and they're doing it now. Some people have men who know how to do this real well set up, and that's all they do is fill out 1041 for people to get their money back. and so they're not, it's just like American Express. The lady called and said, I'm going to discharge this credit card with a bond. And she said, oh no. She said, we got so many of those bonds that are floating around, so we don't know what to do with them. And so, but what we need to do is learn to on our instructions, is to instruct them to apply this to the debt of the United States, because it's the Federal Reserve that keeps getting us into debt by pressing these things and creating cash out of it. And the cash is what puts us into debt. And so,
in other words, you, just like with any other bank, you're creating the credit and they're using it.
Yeah, they're using it. And they're using it to create cash. What they're doing.
The 1041 is an interesting thing, and you covered it a year ago pretty well. I have the form in front of me. You were really familiar with it too. You said, maybe this will help answer some questions. On the top left corner, there's a list of trusts. There's, let's see, I think 9 of them listed. And you say don't put anything, don't check any of those boxes, right?
They have code rules and regulations to monitor that trust with.
Those are statutory trusts.
Yeah.
Okay.
This man that got the $215,000 back, he took the simple trust.
Okay.
And then he allowed him to send him an EIN number.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I don't want to tell people to do that, because that's not what you should do. Because you accept that EIN number, now you've accepted something from them. If you do this all yourself and you have your own number, they do come in and tell you that number's wrong. What they try to do is get you to let them give you one. And
so let's look at this. So then the main name, it says the name of a state or trust, and you use the all caps. I mean, if it's dealing with
the front man, the all caps name.
The all caps.
Because if you'll notice when the Social Security writes you, they use the same name all the time, and that is your trust name. Mine's Alvar Mcleod Jr. And all capital letters. And so once you use that name as the trust name, but you do not call it a trust. And then you put yourself down as agent or trustee. So this is
upper and lowercase.
Yeah.
So right below that is name and title of fiduciary.
Right. That's you.
And that's your trustee.
You're the trustee, fiduciary. That's who you are.
And then, there's the street number and
You don't go down there and tell them what kind of income you got, whether it's off of 1099 or what it's off of. You just say other income and put it in there.
Okay, now, up in the upper right, it asks for an employer identification number.
Yeah, you take your Social Security number and use the first two numbers, and the last 7 numbers off your Social Security number.
So it's just rearranged so that there's 2 numbers.
Yeah, because
then a dash and 7 numbers.
A trust has a different number than Social Security. It's formed differently. You have 2 numbers. Usually, there should be 5 or something, I think. And it goes from there. But you put that number in there, and then go down to your income, put that in there, and then go to fiduciary fees.
Right. Let's make sure this is clear. So with the employer identification number, you're saying that normally a trust starts with a 7-5?
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter?
No.
Okay, so you're using
it. Making this out.
Yeah, in other words, you're using the Social Security number, just written in a different fashion. But you put 2 numbers, then the dash, and then 7 numbers.
Mm.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay, so that's interesting. Very good. And then, that's pretty clear. Then you go down to line 8, that's other income.
And you put the total amount out there in that line 8.
Okay.
Then go down to fiduciary fees.
That's line 12, fiduciary fees. That
would be the same as the income.
Okay.
You're going to pay the fiduciary everything that you earn.
And there doesn't have to be any explanation of this or any box of receipts and all that?
Nope, nothing. And then you go down, if you paid some in, so if you got a job but they take it out, you go down, I think it's E, where it says federal income tax withheld.
Right.
All right, and then you put that out there as them withholding that much, and then bring it on down then to the overpayment.
Right.
And then send it to put it to the part where you tell them send it to you.
Otherwise, the first 2, I mean, in one situation you don't have withholding, in the other situation you have withholding. And okay, that's clear. In other words, if they've withheld, they need to send the money back. If they haven't withheld, there's no tax due.
Right.
And then the problem is that jumps at me is this penalties of perjury, but the 28 U.S.C. 1746,
right.
Part 1.
Without prejudice.
Okay. I need to look that up. That deals with that,
with the filing under penalty of perjury.
Because what has been brought up, right, is that you declare that if you sign under penalties of perjury, you're indicating that you've taken an oath at some time, because penalties of perjury are a promise not to tell a lie under oath.
No, and with their part, it's simply, see, that comes under 60-55 of their, if you're their employee,
right,
you're required under 60-55 to swear under penalty of perjury.
Right.
And 28, anyway, that takes away that 1746 negates what they have said, because you're not required to swear under penalty of perjury.
Good.
So you're going to do that to offset what they're saying. You're not, as a sovereign, required to swear under penalty of perjury. Your word is your word, your yes is yes, and your no is no. And that simply goes back to their deal. Why you get in trouble on the 1040? Because you're not signing as agent. You're signing as the secured party of that person you're charging that bears an oath in. And when you fill that out, you're saying, this person, I'm swearing that he's a federal employee. Right. And as a federal employee, he has to pay all of this. And I'm swearing under the penalty of perjury that all this is true. But, and so you got a problem because you filled the wrong form out to begin with. And so you write your contract, they cannot write back and say you can't write that on there. That's
not the court in Kentucky here today, right? And he has gotten refunds on 2 out of 3 years. He's expecting the third one. But he's gotten some correspondence from the IRS that is semi-threatening in nature. But it's not for some...
All you have to do is write across it, John, accepted, and return to you for closing. Okay, go by that. Accepted is true, and return to you for discharge and closure. You offered the contract. I didn't write you and tell you to send it to me. You offered the contract. I'm going to accept it and give it back to you as my instruction. I want $10,000 more a year.
There's another thing on this 1041 price that's spotted. In that signature box, there's a BIN of fiduciary if a financial institution. So nothing would go in there, I presume.
That's how you put on those things.
So that's safe.
But I'm telling you, this guy, I saw the papers he sent in. Yep. I saw a photocopy of the script, and he did everything wrong. They're sending the money. Because you're not required to pay taxes, John. That has been the big fight. We keep trying to fight in their arena. Sure. And we don't need to fight in their arena. You fight in the federal arena and you're going to get hurt.
Well, this is interesting, right? Because if you're not working for someone where there's withholding, you can work your way out of filing by doing this.
Yes.
And once
you are filing,
well, because the national man is not filing anymore.
Right.
And so when you quit contracting them on an annual basis by filling out that 1040 form, then you are removing yourself from being considered or being presumed to be a taxpayer.
Yep.
You quit establishing that trust every year.
Now I'm non-filing.
Yes. Oh, this is good.
And that was by law of Congress, that they had to quit calling you a tax protester, and they had to start calling you a non-poly. And you wasn't required to do anything.
In the case where they've taken this to judgment, which is my case, and I get to ask the question in this case, personally, do you think that they would go back and negate that judgment then?
I think it's worth a good shot, man.
I think it is too.
Because I'm telling you, I've seen them do a lot of things that they will not do otherwise when you do that.
Right.
And they also, what was funny about this is that they tell you we don't pay for over 3 years. Well, when they ever lie. And so the issue was, this guy said, if they'll take 3 years, then by God, I'm going to put everything down over me. So that's what he filed for. Was everything that he'd ever paid for.
You know, I think I've cracked all that stuff. It'd be great to go back and do that.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And just don't spend your money. And release that lien that they have somewhere on you.
Well, that's terrific. And I'm sure this can be done with the state as well.
Yes.
You have to find their form and their number.
So you have to find the trust form.
Uh-huh. There might even be a cross-reference somewhere.
That guy called me today and he said, well, the state's getting us. And I said, well, you filed 1041? Yeah, I filed 1041. They told me that wasn't the proper form. I said, who are they to tell you? You write back and tell them I'm going to accept what you say and I'm going to be present.
I consider, that are sincere about what they're doing. They're not just out trying to make a quick buck or,
I was, do you know if Sam is in jail? Somebody told me that. And I don't know.
So Sam Davis?
Uh-huh.
I haven't heard one way or the other.
Yeah, I was told that by the people that came down Washington, I think. And so anyway, I don't wish that on anybody.
No.
That's a bad deal.
Got to get a hold of Barton Bruce as well and see how things are going there.
Well, if Barton will put in he needs to put in an affidavit right now on what they did and the fact that they had no jurisdiction coming out there. And don't answer your questions, They're not going to pay any attention to what you say. And anyway, but that's what I would, be my advice is to put in an affidavit to the effect of lack of jurisdiction if they came out there on this property without his permission. And if they're agents, they're foreign agents, and attack them that way.
Why should you,
they could use any of that they could use it against it.
I'll have him, I'll try to get a hold of him and have him get a hold of you on that.
Yeah.
Bryce, have you dealt with, the, admonition against taking posts scripturally and doing affidavits? I mean, it seems to be a conflict there. And I'm doing
I take an oath, and I think that, that's not, I'm not going to take an oath.
But now an affidavit requires an oath, at least under some circumstances.
Well, under some circumstances, but not as a problem. You don't swear an oath. You just say my word is my bond.
It's a declaration.
My yes will be yes, my no will be no.
In other words, not in front of a notary. Does a notary make it?
No, you do it in front of witnesses.
Okay.
And if you do it in front of a notary, you don't do it for what you say on the notary thing is This is simply to verify the signature on this document.
Uh-huh.
And then once you sign down below it and put your thumbprint there. Because you want it to remain your document.
Very good.
And no, I don't like that thing, but that's, it's just things that we have to unlearn. And,
okay.
But in the common law, you just your word is your bond.
And an affidavit is essentially a declaration, correct?
Yeah. And you use it after that, declaration by affidavit.